This meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk.
City Attorney Doctor.
Here.
City Manager Burton.
Here.
Commissioner Dean.
Here.
Commissioner Logan.
Here.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner Shirtliff.
Here.
Mayor Collins.
Here. Welcome and thank you for participating in the City of Helena City Commission meeting. We are pleased to be able to provide this alternative meeting format in a city's effort to broaden public participation. Please be patient as we may experience technical difficulties during the meeting. We welcome your public commentary. Please read the following tips and guidelines for the app usage and your participation. Would you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? The minutes for 7/19/23, 7/24/23, and 8/2/23 were received. Do we have any comments? Corrections? The minutes will be received as submitted. Claims. Approval of resolution declaring various vehicles owned by the City of Helena to be surplus property and authorizing the city manager to dispose of that property. Commissioners? Comments? Do we have any public comments on this? That's what I'm doing. Oh, geez, okay. Claims. Manager Burton?
Mayor, we recommend approval of the claims, and if you'd like an outline for the record, Director Danielson's at the mic.
You have the floor, Director Danielson.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight we have claims paid from June 28th, 2023 through July 28th, 2023. Checks numbered 194,865 through 195,410. In addition to 10 ACH electronic payments for a grand total of $4,502,608.97.
Any comments or discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move the consent agenda items A, claims, and B, approval of a resolution declaring various vehicles owned by the City of Helena to be surplus property and authorizing the city manager to dispose of that property.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion from the commission? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shirtliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Approve of resolution declaring various vehicles owned by the City of Helena to be surplus property and authorizing the city manager to dispose of said property. We did all of that, okay. Bid awards. Bid awards for groundwater test well Phase 2, Project 19-38. Manager Clark, Civil Engineer Clark, sorry. City Engineer. Geez, I'm on the roll today.
We're working through with the engineer consultant as well as the Parks Department. And then the second is for drilling 3 production wells at the Missouri River Water Treatment Plant. We had one bidder, same bidder for both projects. O'Keefe Drilling out of Butte, Montana. And we recommend the bid award for both projects. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Engineer Clark. Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask one question?
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. So I know both this item A and B for the other bid, O'Keefe was the only bidder in both of those. Is it normal to not have multiple bidders on a drilling project like this?
The last mayor and commission, last couple of years, we've been having trouble getting bidders for projects in general because everyone's so busy. And right now, the drillers are really busy with the boom in residential development and drilling exempt wells in the valley and other places.
Okay.
The bid prices, we feel, came in pretty close to what we were figuring they would, so.
Okay. And then, Mr. Mayor, just one more question. Can you maybe talk a little bit, and we discussed this a little bit at the admin meeting, but the significance of us perfecting these rights and getting this process moving before 2025?
Mayor and commission, the groundwater reservation was set aside that both these projects are developing were set aside by the Montana Supreme Court in 1993. It's a closed basin, the Upper Missouri Basin that these wells are all going in, so we're not competing with private development or residential development for these. When the Supreme Court set this aside for us, it was really kind of a special thing, and I really feel personally as a city engineer, it's one of the most important things that I can do for the future of the city is to develop these groundwater rights, which have a deadline date of the end of the year 2025. So I feel it's really important that we do this to establish a new source for the city in times of drought, as well as a sustainable source for the growth of the city in the future.
Any other comments from the commission? Do we have any public comments on this? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move to award the groundwater test wells Phase 2 project number 19-38 to the lowest responsible bidder, O'Keefe Drilling Company, Inc., in the amount of $706,500 base bid for 10 test wells and additional established non-bid costs of $11,750. The results in a total contract bid amount of $718,250.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Engineer Clark. Bid award to repair the historic fire tower restoration project number 23-0923. Director Smith and/or Superintendent Marr. You have to, okay. You want to say a few words first? Go ahead, Manager Burton.
Thank you, Mayor. On the second bid award for the water wells, I believe we need a motion.
Well, the second one is,
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to make that if you would like.
okay, let's go ahead.
Okay, I will move to award the City of Helena new public water supply wells project number 19-38 to the lowest responsive bidder, O'Keefe Drilling Company, Inc., in the amount of $599,600 base bid for 10 test wells and additional established non-bid costs of $2,230.50. This results in a total contract bid amount of $601,830.50.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. You have the floor, Superintendent Marr.
Project, oh, sorry. We had one bid, and it was the low bid. That was Porter and Associates. And we worked with them on doing an investigation of all the wood through the fire tower. And they put together a repair plan for the fire tower. And they were, like I said, they were the low bidder for the project. And we would recommend going with them. They have experience. It's pretty specialized work, getting all the historical connections correct. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Superintendent Mark. Comments or questions from the commission? Do we have any public comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'd move to award the repair of the Helena Fire Tower project number 23-0923 to the lowest responsible bidder, Porter and Associates, in the amount of $255,033.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion from the commission? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Commission's proposals from the commissioners. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a comment I wanted to make before we got to regular items, but it will be relevant to item number 10B as well. So about 2 weeks ago, a gentleman named Rad came before us, and he's with us again this evening. I think he's out in the hallway because his dog needed to go in the hallway. And since he came before us with his concerns about what he is supposed to do and where he's supposed to go, I have made more calls than I can possibly keep track of, and I've had no luck. And I know that I'm not the only person who's been trying. There's some great people, many who are out here tonight, who have been trying to find a solution to the problem he brought us. Tonight, we're going to award close to $1 million in general fund savings that we had from ARPA. And they're great projects. I want to be clear. I'm super supportive of the projects we're funding and the ones we have funded. But at the end of tonight, we still have no answer to the problem that Rad brought us. I think what this highlights is that there are gaps in the services that we have in our community right now. This is not a surprise. I think everybody knows that. But it looks like, you know, in the conversations I've had over the last couple of weeks, there have been some good ideas, ones that need exploring, ones that need following up. And so I will be making a motion to recommend that we allocate $100,000 to finding solutions to emergency shelter needs in our community. Because what we have is a right now problem. And for once, we are uniquely positioned to have a right now solution. We have funding, we have a situation before us, and we have people who are interested. And this amendment would not just set funds aside, but it would recommend that we call a meeting of the city, the county, the relevant stakeholders, including RAD and other people who are affected by this, and talk about some of the options for what we're going to do tonight, tomorrow night, 4 days from now, when they have been told they have to leave their current location, and what we're going to do when it gets cold, because we still don't have an answer. And I think it would be a real shame if we pass up an opportunity to actually try to address this problem. And please be clear, I'm not suggesting we can solve homelessness. I'm not so naive, but I think we have an opportunity, and I hope that we will consider taking it. So I will make that motion when we get to regular items, but I wanted to have that out there for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from the commission? Report of the city attorney. And before you give your report, I just want you to know, Manager Burton and city attorney, I got some news and reports about your performance in court the other day. They were all positive, and I want to publicly acknowledge that today.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. And Mayor, Commissioners, I have nothing to report tonight.
City manager report.
Mayor, Commissioners, I do not have a report this evening as well.
Thank you. Communications from Helena Citizens Council, Representative John R. Andrews, you have the floor.
Mayor, Commissioner, I'll keep it very short. A couple things. Our current chair right now, Cole Rosling, moved outside of his district, so he has had to resign, and Ben Kuiper will be the new chair of the HCC, and we're going to be in the process at our next meeting of electing a vice chair for that position. In addition to that, after, I think it was your administrative meeting 2 sessions ago where you made decisions about the composition of boards and the relationship with HCC and its membership on there. At our last meeting, that was the lion's share of our discussion, was pros and cons of that and what the effect of it was. And the HCC is going to continue. We're discussing that individually with ourselves, and I suspect it'll be a big topic at our next general meeting as well. And I think with that, no specific recommendations, but it's summertime. Things are pretty quiet out there for us. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. Regular item. Consider a resolution for the Eric Fever Trail dedication. Director Smith and/or Langsatter, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Collins. Thank you, Commissioners, for having me here tonight. The Parks Department is very excited to propose not only the move of the current Mike Cormier Trail about 35 feet to the north, to move it off of private property and move it on to platted city street right away that was the portion of Malden Street that was never constructed that provides access to Mount Helena City Park. But we would also like to propose that when we have that trail completed, that trail is dedicated in honor of the late Commissioner Eric Fever. And we would put signage notating that dedication at the LeGrand Cannon walkway, and then also eventually the proposed Eric Fever Trail would proceed up the mountain and come to a union with the Ambrose Trail and with the Quarry Trail. And at that point, we would like to name that the Eric Fever Union. And with that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Thank you. Comments from the commission?
Mr. Mayor.
Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to everyone who put work into this. I remember having a discussion with a family member about this quite some time ago, and being able to be here to actually vote on this is a great moment. I love the name. I love everything that went into it, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to vote on this tonight. Thanks.
Mayor Collins, thank you, Commissioner Reed.
Any other comments from the commission? Do you have any public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead,
I
Commissioner.
move to approve the relocation of the northmost portion of the Mike Cormier Trail off privately owned property and onto the public right-of-way platted as the unconstructed portion of Malden Street. Furthermore, move to approve the naming of the relocated trail as the Eric Fever Trail from its northern intersection from LeGrand Cannon walking path southward to its eventual union with the Ambrose and Quarry Trails.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
B, consider a resolution allocating additional general fund savings created from the Accepting United States Treasury State and local recovery grant funds and declaring all grant funds as revenue loss used for general government services. Director Danielson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So tonight we have a resolution dispersing more of the general fund savings created by receiving ARPA funds. The commission got together and at an administrative meeting on June 21st, and they allocated project funds to various projects that we ended up taking an average of each of the commission's votes and came up with several projects, $120,000 allocated to a comprehensive recreational plan, $50,000 grant to the K's Kids program, $26,000 grant to Exploration Works for classroom expansion, $240,000 dedicated for city facility solar projects, $2,000 grant to Last Chance Powwow Organization, $250,000 a grant to the Family Promise Program for an emergency shelter, $134,600 to Good Samaritan Ministries for an adult day program, and $98,000 dedicated to a partnership with the BID for a public restroom in the downtown area. So that in total is $920,600 that the commission came to consensus on to distribute funds, and tonight is the resolution to formalize that allocation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Director Danielson. Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor? I'm sorry, someone's down there.
I was just going to ask a quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
So we, just kind of a recap, there still are a handful of projects that we did not decide on, and we're saving for additional admin meetings when all of the members of the commission could be there, but these were the ones that we'd previously said that there was 5 members of the commission who had consensus at varying amounts. I'm wondering, do we know when we will have the next conversation scheduled? And the reason I ask that is because, particularly with the comments that Commissioner Reed made at the beginning, some I'm not at all opposed to, but I also want to take into consideration that we are not done with the ARPA discussions, and there was at least one additional conversation that's to occur from what I understood at our last meeting.
You have the floor, Manager Burton.
Mayor, Commissioner Dean, we can schedule up a further ARPA discussion at our next administrative meeting, I believe.
Okay, let's make it happen.
Look at the draft. We'll recap the discussions where you left off, and then we'll look for direction from the commission on any further action.
You bet.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
I might just add that I believe our next administrative meeting is next week. I don't know that I'll be able to queue this up for next week's admin meeting because I'll be out of the office. Okay. And Amanda Opus is still on leave, so it would likely be an administrative meeting in September, if that pleases the mayor.
No problem there.
Okay.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A question, I'm not sure if it's for you, Director Danielson, or if it is possible to ask one of the people we are awarding to. I had some questions about an application, but I also have a question for Manager Burton, so I'll defer on how best to handle this, about the applications we received were quite some time ago. And in some cases, it was a yet-to-be-identified property that we were contributing to. So if you can help me understand, when we award funds to something and we don't exactly know where they're going, what does that process look like? And what is our process for accountability in terms of timing? If we award to someone who never finds a property, theoretically, how do we deal with that? And if we could specifically get updated information about the Family Promise proposal, I'd appreciate that, but over to whoever wants to answer. Thank you.
Mayor.
Go ahead, Manager Burton.
At the staff level, Mayor, Commissioners, we'll proceed as we did the first time that you allocated ARPA or general fund savings dollars, and we will put together performance contracts with each of the entities that you're allocating dollars to, and then we will bring those contracts back for your review and approval so that you'll know what that project's going to look like and what the performance requirements are.
Yes, go ahead, Attorney Doctor.
Mayor, Commissioner Reed, I will just give you a little bit of preview about what the last agreement said in that regard. There was a provision that said if they fail to use the monies for the purpose for which they were granted, they are required to return the monies to the city of Helena. So there are some requirements in that regard to both stick with the proposal that was given to Helena and to the commission and precipitated your approval, and if they don't abide with those conditions and requirements, they are required to return the monies.
Could I just clarify on that? Do we have a timeline, like how long is the period of performance that we are talking about?
Sure, Mayor, Commissioner Reed, actually, in the circumstances where there's a specific purchase, we wouldn't actually give the money until there is something to purchase. So there are provisions that provide if there is something specific like land to be purchased, we wouldn't actually give the money until it was ready to be purchased. So there are different types of grants that we've given, some of which are reimbursement, some of which are let us pay for the land ourselves. Those are the types of circumstances. So if the one you're talking about has land for purchase, we wouldn't actually give it until it's ready.
Thank you for that. And then is there someone from Family Promise here that we could ask for maybe an update on the proposal since it was still yet to be identified at the time of the submission? Oh, good. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Renee Bauer. I'm the Executive Director of Family Promise.
Good evening.
And we anticipate closing on our proposed building within the next 6 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any, are you done, Director Danielson?
Just about. So
Okay.
I also wanted to address, I think, Mayor, that Commissioner Reed had a question about timeline, and I don't know that we have, as we had originally, when we had proposed giving these grants, to have them executed and completed by the end of 2026. And I believe that that was the intention for the expenditures of these project funds. So we have already brought to the commission 3 agreements that were executed with the 3 previous that came before the commission. And they do have performance contracts, and they are required to submit information directly to myself and the city attorney's office for review to make sure that they've expended the funds in the intent that the commission asked them to. So,
thank you. That's all very helpful.
thank you, and that's all I have, unless you have further questions on this topic.
Thank you, Director Danielson. Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, a comment.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
On the resolution, item number 7 is $98,000 for the purchase and installation of a public restroom in the downtown business improvement district. I'm going to vote for this resolution, at least as it stands now. But in terms of this item, my support for it initially was more in terms of having a discussion about this, kind of lukewarm about it in general, because for me, there were some questions in terms of communities that have deployed these loos, sometimes have some regrets about them in terms of public safety. So there was that concern that I was hoping to get some clarity on, which I don't have now. The other thing I don't understand at this point is who's responsible for the maintenance of it. I don't think that's entirely clear. And then the third thing, originally it was brought forward as a way to address really street defecation and urination. And while maybe to some degree that addresses the problem, I think there are more serious underlying problems that lead to that street defecation and urination that maybe aren't addressed by this. But I guess that would be my comment here on this particular item. Since it's wrapped up in one resolution, I'll be supporting the resolution, but I do still have those concerns. Thank you.
Dr. Danielson?
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner Logan. So what this resolution does is set aside the money for that particular project. The commission can always choose to pull that money back if the project doesn't come into fruition. If you recall, I believe the original ask was right around $200,000 for this public restroom. And so the commission had made some allocation amounts, and we took an average, and this was the average that we came up to put in the resolution. That project still, I believe, needs to be vetted, and that will come out of a performance contract between the city and the BID, and it will address who's going to be responsible for the ongoing maintenance and whether or not there can be other funds that are gathered to actually put the entire project together. So as I noted earlier, this will just allocate money for that, but if the project doesn't come to fruition, I believe that the commission can choose to put it back into the general fund savings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Director Danielson. I know Mr. Dendy is here. I don't know, is there anything you would like to add on that from the BID perspective? Is that okay? Mr. Mayor, is that all right?
Well, you already called him up now.
Well, sorry.
Mayor, Commissioners, thanks for the opportunity. Commissioner Logan, thank you for your questions. We've had a chance to talk about this a little bit, so I'll just briefly address the three items that you brought up. As far as safety is concerned, the particular manufacturer that we're looking at gets great reviews and is by far more safe than, say, another kind of prefab restroom, because it is at least sonically open to the out-of-doors, so if there was some crime being committed, people could hear that. It has blue lights, so it's hard to find a vein, so that would reduce drug use. I was speaking with the downtown person from Grand Rapids, and they gave it just wonderful reviews. They've had one for 3 years. They're about to buy another one. They have a different kind of prefab restroom a few blocks away that gets damaged all the time, and they say that this one is just, this Portland Loo is indestructible. As far as maintenance, ongoing maintenance goes, I'm working on an agreement with Good Samaritan Ministries to employ people to clean that toilet. And as far as the nature of, this also is not going to solve homelessness. I just want to point out that this toilet is for everybody. If you go downtown by Constitution Park on a Friday night, it's not unhoused people who are using that toilet. It's families and bikers and revelers and everybody else. So does that help at all? Yeah.
Thanks. Any other comments from the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question for Mr. Dendy.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Dendy. Just got a quick question just for edification regarding what would be, I guess, the pros and cons of just having another porta potty instead of the Portland Loo?
Well, it would be cheaper, clearly. You can get a lot of porta potties for this kind of money. Porta potties kind of stink. I've had to kill flies in this one every day while the heat's up. They're not attractive, non-flushable, and, they work in a pinch. But if we want to welcome people to downtown, if we want people to stick around downtown and spend some money and have a good time, let's give them a nice place to go.
Thank you, Mr. Dendy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Do you have any other comments from the commission? Do you have any public comments on this topic?
I'll try to make this brief. First of all, I'd like to thank you guys.
Wait, excuse me, is it on this topic? Because this is not general public comments yet.
Then
We will be getting the general public comments. Thank you. Any others?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. S.K. Rossi, ROSSI, from here in Helena up on Butler Street. I did want to speak a little bit to the issue of using some of the ARPA funds for services for unhoused people. I'm not sure if you want me to do that on this item or if you'd like me to wait till general public comments. I'm happy to do either.
I think Commissioner Reed was bringing it up.
I haven't been able to make the motion to amend yet, so it's sort of related to this, but since I haven't moved it, I don't know how you would like to handle that.
Because I intend to bring it up when let's bring it up when Commissioner Reed brings it up. You can.
You got it.
speak before.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet. Do you have any other public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I would move, at first I move it, then I amend it. City Attorney, Doctor? Do I move the amendment part first or the regular part first?
Move the amendment first,
Got it.
yes.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I will move to amend a resolution allocating general fund savings created from accepting United States Treasury, state, and local recovery grant funds and declaring all grant funds as revenue loss and used for general government services and distributing an additional $920,600 and adding an additional $100,000 to identifying solutions for emergency shelter for unhoused members of our community.
Second, and then, Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Please, go ahead.
Okay, I think probably for Commissioner Reed. Not at all opposed to this additional piece. We do have obviously the Family Promise Emergency Shelter in here, and then the Good Sam's Adult Day Program. So I guess, how do you envision this moves forward? I know obviously, I think probably the elephant in the room is we haven't had a conversation with the county about, I mean, right now this is more or less the county dealing with this particular issue because it's not within our jurisdiction. However, everyone is very well aware that it does impact folks who are in Helen every day. So I guess, what do you see this looking like moving forward?
I'm so glad you asked that question, Commissioner Dean. I think the Good Samaritan Project is an amazing piece of a puzzle, and it solves the daytime. What it does not solve is the nighttime. I think currently we have emergency shelter services coming from God's Love, which addresses some people. We have the Friendship Center, which addresses some people. The Family Promise will address some other people, but there's still a large group of people who do not fit in any of those services at night. The Good Samaritan proposal will address daytime use and would be an emergency warming shelter in the winter daytime and possibly emergency nighttime. But again, we have a big gap. In speaking with some of the service providers who are here this evening, they all recognize this gap, and I think if we can set the funds aside and building off what Manager Burton said with performance-based contracts, we can find out what we can do and specifically identify things to address the issues. Maybe it won't cost $100,000, I don't know. But I think Rad is back in the room and was going to speak. I think there is a group of people in this community who are doing everything they can to stay sober and stay housed somewhere, whether it's indoors or outdoors, and 4 days from now, they have nowhere to go. So I think we have a moment. I think we have great people here who are ready to sit down, including the county, based on my discussions with them, and talk about some of the interesting ideas that have come up, including identifying pieces of property that could be donated to a nonprofit to manage, including looking at options for indoor and outdoor services. I think there's ideas, but we don't have a way to execute them unless we have the funding and the commitment to do so. Does that answer the question?
Yep, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor, a question, please. So what specifically will the 100,000 be spent on?
Thank you. I don't know. But what I think it does is gives us a pool of funding to draw from when someone comes up with a plan. Because right now, if someone came to us with a plan, we could say, good idea, we don't have any way to support it. But I think there is commitment from the city and the county to entertain ideas. So I would love to commit the city to some resources to not just entertain the ideas, but actually implement them. If there's something that can be done. If we genuinely say we did everything we could and there is no solution, then the funding goes back to the general fund, just like any other allocation.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner Reed, thank you very much for bringing this forward. I've got a question regarding, I guess, a statement. I know we've talked about, we've had resolutions that have come before us, and ones where we talk about what might need a plan. I think having a plan with this money could do some really good. So, and thanks for all your work that you've done with the population in Orofino.
Okay, do we have a motion for this amendment?
I think we have a motion and a second. I guess, Mr. Mayor, really briefly, for the city manager, what is the next step? Should this pass, what does the next step look like in terms of coordinating our staff with the county and other partners?
Yeah, Mayor, Commissioners, take the direction that Commissioner Reed had laid on the table, that we help to coordinate a broader community discussion relative to the issue. And we'll help coordinate that. You know, one of the first steps that I would take is inform this action, inform the county chief administrative officer. We've got several representatives of Helena nonprofit organizations listening to this discussion tonight. And we'll follow up with the commission when we've got something set up.
Thank you, Manager Burton. I just want to say that this is a great idea, Commissioner Reed. With the, we don't have time on our hands, so to speak. We have people that will be leaving the forestry land in 4 or 5 days. So I hope we'll take that into consideration and have the discussion as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mayor. We very much intend to do that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, question.
Go ahead.
City Attorney, so are we voting on the amendment or the resolution and the amendment?
Mayor, Commissioner Logan, what I heard was there was no motion on the table until Commissioner Reed made it. Am I mistaken with that? Yours was the first motion.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're voting on the entire action, including the amendment as amended. And just to clarify, the resolution that you see attached to your documents is always a draft until it's signed. And so we will take that back if you pass this motion with the amendment, we'll take it back and we'll add the $100,000 and put in it the language that we heard from Commissioner Reed, and we will then have you sign it. So this isn't a final until you vote on it here today. Does that make sense?
So,
Mr. Mayor, I've got a question.
Go ahead.
For Director Danielson regarding the amount in the pot that we have. How much will we have with the amendment? How much will we have left over? Just out of curiosity to do the math. I'm missing a couple pages in my booklet here tonight, so.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner Shurtleff. With the additional $100,000 added to the resolution, it'd be about $1.3 million.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, we have a second, right? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shurtleff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
SK? You will still talk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Brad probably has more important things to say than I do. Regardless, I just wanted to offer the services of the Montana Coalition to Solve Homelessness in support of this project. We work with them on their government affairs and advocacy issues, and I told them that I was planning to come in and talked to y'all about the camp out on Orofino and the need for a short-term solution, and they were more than supportive. If you need, I apologize for my voice, I've been a little sick. If you need folks to come in and give you ideas, if you want to talk to experts nationally or in state, I'm happy to reach out to those folks and bring them to the table. I can't reiterate enough how dangerous it is for people to not have a safe place to sleep. I know you've probably seen some of the news stories over the last few months, but the increase in violence against unhoused people has increased exponentially because our unhoused population has increased exponentially, and they're much more visible than they used to be, and most of that violence is happening in the dead of night because no one has a safe place to go. So anything we can do to be helpful, experts, ideas, experiences from Missoula, Bozeman, Great Falls, Billings, whatever you need, just let us know. We're happy to help.
Thank you. Ready? C, consider a resolution expanding the boundaries of the Open Space Maintenance District Number 1 for fiscal year 2024. You have the floor, Director Daniels.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight we have resolution before you to expand the boundaries of the Open Space Maintenance District. You might have a question why we do boundaries for maintenance districts and not special districts. This, in addition to the street maintenance district, are just they're special maintenance districts. And so the commission can vote once per year to expand the boundaries so that they can include all of the corporate city limits. The special districts, such as the urban forestry and the landfill districts, are a different part of Montana Code Annotated and require a survey of the land because people can protest out of them for inclusion in those special districts. These are a little bit different. The commission can expand the boundaries once per year, and we do this before we pass the final resolution for the assessment so that we can incorporate all those properties that are in the city limits. And that is all I have, unless you have any questions on this.
Thank you, Director Danielson. Comments or questions from the commission? Do we have any public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I will move to approve a resolution expanding the boundaries of the Open Space Maintenance District Number 1 for fiscal year 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Consider a resolution expanding the boundaries of the Street Maintenance and Improvement District Number 1 for fiscal year 24. Director Danielson.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. Again, this is the boundaries for the street maintenance district. The same statute applies as the open space, where we bring it to the commission once per year to expand the boundaries so that when we go to pass the resolution for the assessment, it incorporates all of the city limits at the time. If you have any questions, I'm available to answer them.
Thank you, Director Danielson. Comments or questions from the commission? Do we have any public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I move to approve a resolution expanding the boundaries of the Street Maintenance and Improvement District Number 1 for fiscal year 2024.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. I know I haven't been asking you, Madam Clerk, if anyone is online, but I would hope you would have called me out on that.
Mr. Mayor, I will always let you know.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Consider first passage of an ordinance adopting the 2021 International Fire Code. Chief Campbell, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Before you is a draft resolution for the first reading in the process toward adopting the 2021 Fire Code. We're continuing to operate under the 2012 Fire Code. The Fire Code's a model code that regulates the minimum fire and safety requirements for new and existing buildings, facilities, storage and the process within those buildings. It addresses application, installation, performance, and maintenance of alarms, as well as fire department access. Fire Marshal Lou Antoniuk is here if you all have any questions for us.
Thank you, Chief Campbell. Comments or questions from the commission? Do you have any public comments on this topic? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Commissioner Logan looked excited. Oh, okay. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the first reading of an ordinance adopting the 2021 International Fire Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Public hearings. Consider a resolution to set fees charged by the Transportation Systems Department. Director Kanopke and/or Cooey.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners.
Good evening.
So tonight's our public hearing to discuss the transportation system schedule of fees. And while it goes against my nature, I will be brief, boring, and to the point. So we brought these to you in a resolution of intention back on July 24th. Some additional information was requested. We provided as much of that as we could last Wednesday. And so we've updated the schedule to include our new recommendation for the parklets, which would be the $13 a day rate at a 50% discount. The reasoning behind that is that this area that these parklets typically will be in are not permitted spots. They're pay-to-park daily hour rates. Additionally, we've added in the veteran, elderly, student, et cetera, discount for the transit fares at $1. Some of these, if approved, we'd be able to essentially get started with right away. But the transit fare, for example, we would probably roll out probably over the next 30 days. It takes a little bit of time to update the software, and we'd like to provide some time for those people that would qualify for the discount to get into that program and not have to pay the $3 in the meantime. So, happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions from the commission?
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Cooey, just a question. So if I'm reading this correctly, the parklet is flat $17.42 for everybody?
It is per
season.
space, Commissioner Reed, so let me find it on parklets.
I can't read the page number, I'm sorry. Oh, so that's per 2 spaces minimum?
Correct. So ultimately, the rate would be that $6.50 per day, kind of rounded out into a monthly amount per space.
So the minimum a person would pay is $1,700, and the 4-space ones would be double that?
Correct. So the 2 space, we'd like to limit it to a 2-space minimum, given the space requirements that they would have. So yeah, the minimum would ultimately be the $1,742. And then if they wanted to go to 3 or 4 or 5, it would be that per spot rate added on.
Okay. So I did reach out to some business people about this, and what we heard was that there's a sort of barrier to entry for a number of businesses who were considering it, and they said that over $1,000 is hard for them, that they wouldn't be able to consider it over $1,000. And at the rate that we're proposing here, it is more than what they're paying this season for the 4 spaces. They would be paying more than this season. Correct? Like the 4-space one would be like $3,500 instead of $2,500.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. I will just say I can't support this fee because every single business I spoke to said that they would not. They will consider discontinuing the parklet program if the fees go up, and they will not consider doing it if the fees stay this high. And I really love this program. I think it's brought a lot to the city. I think it's a great thing for downtown and for other neighborhoods. And I think if we are not listening to the businesses who are the ones who are going to have to participate, I can't support that, but I don't have any issues with the rest of the fees. Thanks.
Mr. Cooey, how many businesses have the parklet program right now?
Mayor, currently we have 2.
2?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had applications for any others?
I believe we've had 1 other, yeah.
One other. Okay, and what was the original fee?
The original fee, Mayor, was the $13 per day at an 85% rate.
Would total what per month?
Per spot was,
Mayor and Commissioners, it was $220 per spot per month. So for the minimum two would be $440 a month.
So what's,
And there's 6.7 months in the program.
would total to,
For the 5 spaces for the Blackfoot, I think it was around just shy of $7,000. And then the 220 would have been around 1,800, I think.
so with this new pricing you putting out, what's the, what is it for, say, Blackfoot right now, from $7,000 to what?
So to about the $3,500. The reason for the difference in the cost is the orientation of the.
No, yeah, I know that. I'm just asking, what is the, you have new pricing now?
Yep.
Because we asked you to go back and redo. So from 7,000 before, what is it now with the new pricing that you've brought us?
Let me do the math real quick here, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, if I might clarify, are you asking what they're paying this season? Because this season was 2,500, right?
Correct.
They're paying that now, so this would go up again next year from the current.
Mr. Mayor, I think from what the cost comparisons we got last week, this is alternative 1, right?
Right.
It would be 4,355.
For the full season?
For the full season, yes.
For the full season, all right. Versus the 7,000 plus for the full season?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have any other comments or questions from the commission?
So, Mr. Mayor, I'm wondering, I mean, before we had talked about keeping it at the flat $2,500, and we heard that maybe that wasn't it was unequal for those that had fewer spots. So I wonder, is there a way that we could go with, let's say, alternative 1, but then cap it at 5 spaces and 2,500? So for those that are utilizing, 2, they're not getting charged that higher rate, but for those that are utilizing 5, we are capping at the 2,500 that we were charging this year.
So Mayor and Commissioner, Dean, if I could clarify, you want to cap 5 spaces basically at 2,500, which would be $500 a space per season.
Essentially. I mean, I guess, do you have any comments on that?
Other than, these are areas of our core parking area, and these are the revenue that we generate, and parking, their revenues can only match their expenses because that's where we're at in parking. So I know this seems like a small amount, but as we stated on last Wednesday, the first hour free parking, the pink signs at parking garages and some of our surface lots, that's accounting for, on an average, $19,000 of lost revenue in a year. So as we try to incentivize these things for the downtown businesses, the parking will just have to reevaluate their maintenance schedules and either constrain their budget even more or potentially come back to you with some raised rates for other areas of the town to cover the lost revenue.
Do we have any other comments for the?
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Konopke and Assistant Director Cooey, thank you very much for taking a look at the rates for seniors and veterans. I appreciate, and the disabled, I appreciate staying at $1 if it's pre-scheduled. The same day rate for that population is $2. It's still a little bit less than the rate that you're looking to charge. Is there any wiggle room on that, or to to make it still $1 for those folks, or is it complicated within using the technology that we're using? Is it trouble to move it down to $1?
Mayor and Commissioners, no, it's not. Those were our proposed rates based on the $3 for a scheduled ride and $5 for a same-day ride for a non-discounted ride. So we wanted to incentivize the scheduling of rides because doing same day, we can't guarantee pickup time or drop-off time. We can try to get you in, close. So that's why we're just trying to incentivize the scheduling of it prior to, because then you can ensure that you're either arriving or getting picked up at the time you need. So the rates that are in the are just proposed. The commission can change those if need be. And to be honest with you, we haven't, until this evening was complete, and we heard your wishes on the fees, we haven't moved forward with changing any of the software or anything, just because it doesn't make sense to do it before you vote, so.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, could I ask a question?
Please.
So procedurally, if there's one fee that I'm not excited about, what is the next step in this process? Is there any other opportunity to change that one fee, or is it we vote on the whole package?
Mayor, Commissioner Reed, the actual motion could dictate how you would move forward with this. So if you want to move the entire fee schedule and exclude the parklet fee, you can do that. You could, but if you move it for the whole thing, you would have to take the parklet fee as well. So it would be dictated by the motion.
So it would be possible to move the fees with one last discussion on parklet fees separately before?
Mayor, Commissioner Reed, yes, it would. I guess I would ask about timing, just because setting fees may impact a budget. And I don't know if that's an impact, but legally, procedurally here, yes, you can do it separately.
Thanks.
Do you want to say something,
Yeah,
Commissioner?
Mayor and Commissioners, just to, for your information, these fees will not be instituted this year, obviously. So as the calendar year rolls over and the new season of parklets, that's when these fees the parklet fee in particular would take effect.
Thank you. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Give me a second to find the motion language. Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve a resolution to set fees charged by Helena Transportation Systems Department with the exception of the parklet fee, which I would like to discuss further at the next administrative meeting.
Mr. Mayor, question.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So similar to the last vote we just took relative to the resolution on general fund savings, motion was made by Commissioner Reed and amended at the same time. And the commission then didn't get the opportunity to weigh in on that particular amendment. It would seem to me like perhaps something we can do here is make a motion to, and I may be completely procedurally wrong, but make the motion to approve a resolution to set fees charged by the transportation system, if that was moved and seconded, and then amended by someone coming along saying, well, I would like to amend it to reflect such and such. Then we would have the opportunity to weigh in on, the commission could weigh in on whether we agreed with that or not, and then go back to the originally moved and seconded motion. But I don't know.
Attorney Doctor?
Mayor, Commissioner Logan, the motion is now on the table for you to consider, and you have to consider the current motion first.
Can I withdraw the motion?
You can withdraw the motion. I will say that the way you've proposed it is that it's not actually an amendment. There was no motion on the table in the first place. So the motion was that you moved the passage of this fee schedule excluding the parklet fees. So that wasn't an amendment, it was the motion. So the difference, I'm just being transparent here, the difference would be if you want to propose it the other way, your motion could fail on the piece for the parklet fees, and then you don't get to discuss the substance of a parklet fee in general. And so I guess I would suggest that the way you're suggesting it, Commissioner Logan, there is a chance that fails separately, and then you don't ever get to that issue.
I guess as I was envisioning it was Mr. Mayor, sorry, was a voting first on the amendment, and it stands or falls, and then, let's say it failed, then we go back to the original motion. But
Commissioner Logan, I think that would work as well. Yeah. And to clarify, I misunderstood how you posed it at first. So you're right, you could consider those two separately and the parklet issue first, and you could then get to the other piece as well. But what I heard is a desire to pass this on to an admin meeting, which is a little bit different than considering the motion right now on a parklet fee. So I guess I would leave that up to how you would like to do it otherwise.
So I would love to have the discussion now if we can. So is the best thing for me to do to withdraw the motion or to proceed with the discussion as it is? If the discussion can happen now, that's great.
Mayor, Commissioner Reed, am I hearing you ask if you can just withdraw it without further discussion?
I'd like to have the discussion that Commissioner Logan is looking for, so I'm asking, should we leave this one on the table or should I withdraw it? I was a little confused by where we go
Yeah,
now.
sorry, I wasn't as clear as I could have been. I think if you want to have the discussion now, posing the discussion as Commissioner Logan just suggested is a better idea, instead of passing it on to an administrative meeting in the future. If you'd like to have it now the way Commissioner Logan suggested it, that would ensure you would have it now. And you just withdraw your motion.
Thank you, City Attorney Doctor. I would like to withdraw my motion.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead,
I
Commissioner.
would move to approve a resolution to set fees charged by the Helena Transportation Systems Department.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion?
Now I think is where you get to.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to amend the motion. Yes. I'm looking to make sure I'm doing this right. I would like to move to amend the motion that was just made to exclude the parklet fees from the resolution, from the, whatever it is, the resolution, yep.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I will just add to my initial comments. I did hear from, I know perhaps there was one application received, but I heard 3 other businesses who had considered submitting applications, but were unable to go over the $1,000 to $1,500 barrier. I would like to see more parklets in our community, not less, and I am concerned that at the current rate, we will not only see no growth, we might actually see some of the 2 that we have choose not to participate in the program, and I think that would be a really sad thing for our community. So I would like to get to the point where we are not higher than what we have this season, for sure $2,500 as a cap, with the opportunity to have a lower threshold level for newer businesses with less space. Thanks.
Do you have any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, so I think there's some context here that is worth bringing up maybe too. I mean, part of the reason that we, and if the transportation system directors would like to add any context, that'd be fine. But right now, a previous commission decided to change the way parking occurred in downtown. We have a intercap loan that we are required to pay that was for the parking meters essentially, and the app. And we still have close to $500,000, I believe. I think it was $450,000 about left on the intercap loan. So I think that's context that folks need to understand, is that the reason that our parking has to have revenue is because it has, there is a loan that a previous commission engaged in to encourage more people to be parking downtown. So the idea was to turn over more parking spaces by charging for parking. When we lose parking places for things like parklets, which, I mean, huge, I talked about parklets at the beginning of COVID when, we were just starting to figure out what this could look like. But we do lose places that produce revenue to pay off the loan that we are obligated to pay because of previous decisions, which, good, bad, and different, that's just the reality. I think encouraging more parklets is a good thing. I also think, though, that we should be careful not to fully subsidize them, because we are on the hook for these payments that we have to make. And so I would be in favor, and I understand the argument that a flat fee across the board is not necessarily fair for those who only are looking for 2 spaces rather than those who are utilizing 5. I don't know if there will ever be a time where someone applies for more than 5, and maybe that's a policy discussion that we're going to have if that comes up. But I would be in favor of capping at that $2,500. I mean, we are losing. I mean, we are subsidizing almost.
Is that what we have on the table right now?
So we have alternative 1, and it would be utilizing alternative 1, but capping the rate at $2,500. I think that I don't want to be yo-yoing back and forth where we're at $7,000 one year, $2,500 one year, and then now we'll go back up to $4,300 for some businesses. But maybe this could be the step that shows us, are we able to make do with that $2,500 cap while still addressing the needs of those that have fewer parking spaces? Potentially a middle ground moving forward.
Mr. Mayor, comment. I'd just like to, I think the revenue loss is a serious consideration, and I think, I guess from my perspective, it seems like our folks in transportation systems have done a good job of balancing the revenue loss and the affordability of the parklets. So I'm pretty supportive of their proposal as couched in alternative 1. Thank you.
Thank you. I am, when I heard 19,000 just on the 1 hour free parking, and then Transportation Department is very concerned if we were to go any lower, that's a huge revenue loss. And of course, Commissioner Dane has stated about what we have to pay towards that $400,000 to $500,000 loan. I will remain in favor of what the proposal the parking department has provided in number 1. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Okay, so.
Mr. Mayor, just a procedural question, if I may. So Commissioner Reed, as a reminder, your amendment was basically to set aside that discussion for later, correct?
I believe my amendment was to remove parking fees from this version until we had consensus. But procedurally, I think we have 2 and 2 right now, so I'm not sure what we have or how to proceed.
Or then do we vote on that particular
Yeah.
amendment and then, okay, thank you.
So, did we have a second? Okay, it's been
Yes.
moving, it's been moving, seconded, and that's what's fine, the discussion. Any other? Madam Clerk?
On the Reed Amendment, Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Sorry, can I interrupt here? I'm not sure you took public comment on that discussion portion of it.
Okay. Are there any public comments on this topic? Consider a resolution to set fees charged by the Transportation Department.
Mayor, right now, the motion in front of you is just the amendment to
Right.
remove the parklet fee from the transportation fees schedule and discuss it for a different time. So that's what you'd be considering right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any public comments on that?
John Dendy, representing the Business Improvement District and also Downtown Helena, Inc. in this case. I would appreciate it if you approve this amendment and do not set parklet fees at this time. The BID and DHI believe that parklet fees should be 0. These folks have already gone to a huge investment to make Helena more vibrant. I mean, these parklets make downtown Helena look cool. When people drive by and see these, they stop and they spend money. The Blackfoot could be packed. The Gold Bar could be packed, but nobody knows that driving by without bodies out front. I would venture to guess that people will end up parking in other paid parking spaces in order that were empty by definition when they got there in order to go to these places. I would like to see more parklets in downtown Helena, and increasing fees is not going to do it. So please hold off on this one. Thanks for your attention.
Do we have any other public comments? Okay. So we're back to for procedurally, we're back to, it's been moved and seconded, right? Okay. You want to, what's that?
Mayor, the amendment is still on the table for you to vote.
Right.
Yes.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Dean.
Yes.
Commissioner Logan.
No.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
No.
The motion carries 3-2.
Okay. Now that the motion is carried, back to the original resolution. I'll entertain a motion. Madam Clerk, the original motion is consider a resolution to set fees charged by Transportation Systems Department. Do you have any public comments on this topic?
Mayor, the motion will now be as amended because the amendment passed.
Okay. Any public comments on this? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Dean.
Aye.
Commissioner Logan.
Aye.
Commissioner Reed.
Aye.
Commissioner Shertliff.
Aye.
Mayor Collins.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone from the public wishes to address the commission?
I'd like to thank you for accepting my challenge and coming to my camp. I would also like to thank Commissioner Reed. I don't know nothing about the money, and I don't know if what I'm doing is the solution. But I know the last few weeks, the morale of my camp has been really getting low. And I kind of think that maybe your guys' morale is getting a little low. I want to thank Commissioner Reed for trying to find some place for me to go and for burning the midnight oil. But she said something to me the other day that got my attention when she said that she was a little disappointed in her community. Now, I don't envy you guys your jobs. You don't at all. When things are going good, nobody's calling you. When somebody's got a complaint, you're probably getting a lot of calls and you're experiencing a lot of hate and discontent. I will tell you that from my position up there in camp, I've had to deal with the discontent and the hate, but I see the end result of it. I don't see them making the calls. And to be perfectly honest, to me, the haters and discontenters, they tend to stay in the shadows. And they extend their hate and discontent from the shadows. From the start, this has been about transparency and this has been about sobriety. I don't want you guys to get discouraged. I want you guys to keep doing what you're doing, to persevere and to keep it going, because something's got to be done. Now, you may get a lot of people calling and discontent, but I'm telling you, up there, I'm getting neighbors that are giving me corn on the cob and cucumbers, and they're offering compost toilets, and they're giving me little tidbits of information. Oh, the commission's having a meeting. Maybe you should go down and add your voice. I want you guys to know that there is a lot of love coming out of this community to that camp. Now, you guys might not be seeing that side, and I want to paint the picture to you guys. It's been really incredible. I've gotten the support from law enforcement. I've gotten the support from so many different agencies and general public people, neighbors. Just stay the course. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know how much money it's going to take. And to be perfectly honest, it seems like most of the time money's thrown at a problem, it gets worse. But stay the course. There's people that need this. You know, if we don't address the sobriety and the recovery in these people, there's always going to be homelessness, always. And until this is addressed, throwing all the money in the world at it's not going to do anything. It's going to take compassion and love and forgiveness. And I just want to keep you guys on the course and just keep your focus on the ball. Don't let these haters and discontenters close your eyes to what's right and what's good. And I guess that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody from the public wants to address the commission?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners.
Good evening.
My name is, sorry, I'm just getting over something. My name is Alton Talley. I'm the program coordinator at Our Place down here. I work with a lot of the people that go to Rad's camp. And what he's doing up there is incredible. And I'm hearing a lot of support coming in. We're trying to help support that camp any way we can. A lot of our people come down to Our Place for groups based on recovery and wellness. But part of what I wanted to talk about a little bit was Commissioner Reed's proposal about doing something about not enough shelter. One of the little things that we do at Our Place is we count down to Halloween. Because inevitably, anyone that lives in Montana knows that Halloween, it could be 80 degrees on October 30th, and it'll snow on Halloween. And I know because I've always taken my kids trick-or-treating, and it always snows on Halloween. There's only 85 days left until Halloween. So we have 85 days to come up with another solution to what are we going to do for all these people that don't have a place to stay. And a lot of you are probably familiar with the MIRA program. August is the very last month that anybody's getting MIRA funding. And the reason I know this is because I processed 300 of those MIRA applications. And I get notifications when their funding is ending. July, August is the end. So we're going to have more people coming out that have no place to go. And when RAD first started that camp, it was adults only. In the last 2-3 weeks, we have actually started having people with families, with children that have no place to go and are going to his camp. So now we have little children that are going to be out there unsheltered. And so whatever we can do, our place will host any meetings that we have. I'd be glad to take any phone calls. I know Teresa from Good Samaritan, she's behind this too. So if there's anything that we can do to help move this along, to get some kind of thing going, because at night, this last winter, I worried about these guys every night, because there were nights when it was -20 without the wind chill factor. And there were a couple of nights where I think it was -50. So what do we tell them? What do we tell the kids when there's no place for them to go? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Emily McVeigh, the Executive Director of the United Way of the Lewis and Clark area. Just to go off of what Alton was saying, we have our point-in-time survey numbers for this 2023 year. If you haven't seen them yet, our numbers for this year were 164 unsheltered people that we counted the final Thursday of January 2023. What we know, that number is very small from what the numbers are truly in our community. Those only count what HUD determines are unsheltered people, so that doesn't count people that are couch surfing, that doesn't count people that we don't find that day, that doesn't count children who are staying with other family members. The school district found, usually finds 300 to 400 students per school year that are unsheltered during the school year. Those kids don't get counted in our point-in-time survey numbers. But what we do know is that there was 164 people that we found that day. That's an increase of 13% from 2022. And with the MIRA numbers, the people coming out of the MIRA funding in the last few months, those numbers are increasing daily. We get calls every day, all day long at our office, people looking for housing, looking for assistance to get into housing, families struggling to figure out what to do next because they're losing their housing, and we don't have any answers for them. So that 164 will be, again, 13% more. The statewide numbers grew 28%. So we're luckily a little less than what the state is experiencing, but we're not far behind. So when we talk about the need for another emergency shelter or additional emergency shelter beds, that is a real thing that we need in our community. So any help we can get would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, Commissioners, I just wanted to step up to the plate real quick and say thank you. I've been at Good Samaritan 17 years, and this has been a problem every year. What are we going to do when the cold hits? I finally feel like something's going to come about. We can talk about it. Commissioner Reed, thank you so much for the time you've helped us on this. Good Samaritan has been working with the folks up at camp, and we've been bringing in other agencies to meet the needs of the people there. But what RAD has done to start this grassroots program, and he said money doesn't solve it all the time. Sometimes we just need to get together as a grassroots group and see how we're able to do this. That's where I think this is moving forward. And thank you again for that, because like I said, I've seen this happen year after year after year. So I hope we can get together. We would like to be involved in the conversation. We do hear from a lot of people in the winter when it gets cold, and where are we going to put people and how are we going to do this, and if they can't go somewhere, where are they going to go? So we would definitely like to be involved in that conversation. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other? Madam Clerk, do we have any online?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have no public comment online.
Thank you. Any final comments from the commission? Madam Clerk, do we have any online?
Thank you, Commissioner. I did not see the hand raised. I apologize. I do have one hand raised online, Mr. Mayor.
Lisa
Dr.
Carolis.
Gregory Thomas.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commission. As Rad stated, there are many of us in the community who have been reaching out to figure out what we can do. From a funding perspective, if the city finds itself between a rock and a hard place on this particular issue, please know that there are those of us here in the community who are ready to help step up if additional monies help produce a solution sooner rather than later, considering the time-sensitive nature of RAD's situation right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any others? Madam Clerk, any other online?
Mr. Mayor, at this time, I have no other hands raised.
Final discussion from the commission.
Mr. Mayor, can I just make one brief request of the city manager? When we start engaging in these coordinating pieces, I mean, there have been a number of conversations that have been ongoing for the last couple of years anyway. I think what we have continued to see is the gap is in particularly like the emergency shelter piece for single men. And then we have other organizations who obviously continue to need more support, but organizations like Family Promise, who we've funded tonight, YWCA Friendship Center that are addressing some other populations. But I think in these conversations, it might be helpful for us to know, how many emergency beds and of what would those demographics be. If we could, just snap our fingers and have the beds today. And then also, and I think this is where the issue continues to come up, is the ongoing funding mechanism. Because I think the health department is probably like an ideal place of how, and in a lot of communities, that's where a lot of this goes through, but we also don't have funding mechanisms for ongoing financial support in communities of our size. And so what does that look like moving forward? I think that will be really helpful to have during these conversations.
Well, Mayor and Commissioner, I mean, we all recognize that this is a difficult problem to solve, and solutions don't come about easy. I do think that collaboration carries the conversation forward, so that I think it is important to spend some time defining the problem. We know that the problem in holistic terms is out there, but what resources are helping and what resources don't exist, I'm not sure that we're able to answer that question sitting here tonight. We do know that there's the problem, and people are homeless, and they've got some resources here and there, and they're getting assistance, but where strategically, and the other challenge is that counties are set up for social services as a subdivision of the state. Cities, through our charter, aren't as established for that, although we do have the ability to help and bring resources forward. But good coordination with the county is critical on this issue as well, and all of the nonprofit providers that have much better information and experience because they're working in the arena every day, whereas it's not an issue that we're all dealing with that close and intimate. So I think I understand what you're talking about and the direction that you're giving, and we will reach out to the county and the nonprofit organizations and other people that want to come into that broader discussion and try to structure some more definition as to where the city could effectively help improve the situation.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission? With nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.